Join me today as we talk about the movie Novocaine 2025. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobbie, and today we're going to be talking about the movie Novocaine 2025, because apparently there's an older movie named Novocaine. This is not it. I saw this movie recently as I was in Indianapolis for Indiana Comic Con. My friend Chris and I went to go watch this because Friday after Comic Con we were going to watch Captain America 4, Brave New World. I already did a review on that, but that wasn't going to start till like 9:25 or 9:45, one of the two. We were like, no, that's way too late. We're going to pass out while we're watching it. That's never good. Interesting side note, the two of us did both pass out when we were watching the second Hobbit movie towards the end. You know, they're like firing up the forge and getting the gold and all that baloney going on. We literally like came to a point where we looked at each other and were like, did you fall asleep? Yeah, I think so. Did you? Yeah. What did we miss? I don't know. I was asleep. Like, silly question, obviously, but, it's one of those like, well, it couldn't have been too important. So anyway, all kinds of baloney probably not in the book. So, what do we got here? This is a movie about a gentleman who cannot feel pain, hence the name. And the main guy is Nate, played by Jack Quaid. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Jack Quaid. That's why I left the computer up here, so I can do this in real time. So I'm going to look to see if he's in anything else I've seen. His face looked kind of familiar. But let's see. Looks like he was in the Hunger Games as Marvel, and Scream, not the first one. I think this would be the fourth one, because I think they didn't call it Scream, or the fifth one. I think it's the fifth one. They didn't have a number. They just called it Scream again. Richie Kirsch. I think he was one of the guys that was putting on the Stabathon and recording it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was him. Now that I can picture a younger version of him. And then Logan Lucky as Fishbang. I do not remember that character. So yeah, he's been in a few things. Younger guy. So there's a whole list. He's in Oppenheimer somewhere. He's been in some things, so he's not a complete unknown or anything. And he is Nate, the main character. And then we also have a pop-up that I don't want. Amber Midthunder as Sherry. Now she is the woman who Nate is in love with, who works at the bank that he works at, and she gets taken hostage, and he has to try to rescue her. She is the lady from the movie Prey, which I watched because I don't have Hulu. But so the Predator prequel. Then we also have Jacob Batalon, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. He is the guy who played Ned Leeds in the three more recent Spider-Man movies. The guy who's probably ultimately going to become the Hobgoblin at some point. And we've got a few other people here and there, but yeah. So, like I said, the guy can't feel pain, and he works at a bank. He meets, there's a girl that works there, and he finally accepts her wanting to go out and go eat lunch together. And so they're eating lunch, and she's seeing how quirky he is, and he has to explain the whole can't feel pain thing. So, like at one point, he orders like a smoothie, and she tries to convince him to take a bite of the pie, and he's like, no, I really can't. It could kill me. And so he elaborates, and she's like, oh, you really can't, can you? And he's like, no, I really can't. I wasn't making it up. because he might bite his tongue off and not know it, because he can't feel any pain, so he wouldn't feel biting off his tongue. Now, you'd think he'd feel his tongue flapping around inside his mouth, because he does feel, he just doesn't feel pain. And so, like, she does convince him to eat the pie, and he's just like, oh my god, this is delicious. He's like, I'm glad I risked it. But, yeah. So, then there's other things, like you see his apartment, like he's got like tennis balls on all the edges of everything, because he could bump into like an edge of a table and cut himself and not know it. He mentioned that he like stepped on a nail one time and didn't realize it until his like shoe was half filled full of blood. So yeah. Then I mentioned that his parents found out that people with that affliction, their average lifespan is like in their early 20s. He's now in his late 20s, early 30s, so he's like, he doesn't keep in contact with them much anymore, and so he's pretty much alone. Just his friend that he plays video games with online, which is the guy that plays Ned Leeds. So he goes on a date with her, and things mostly work out. I think they're on a second date, and so they go back to his place, and of course there's so you don't feel pain. Do you feel other things? And he's like, I'm pretty sure I do. And obviously they have sex together. So then it's Christmas time. There's a gentleman who comes in who's like behind on some payments. His wife passed away, and like he's waiting for things to clear probate to get her final like Social Security stuff, and but it's going to be after he needs to make the payments. He's going to lose the house and everything, and the guy's like, the Nate, or banker type, is he's like, no, it's like that's not right. Like, I tell you what, I'll hold on to this. I'll wait till after the holidays to file the paperwork. So you should get the money in the meantime. You make the payment. You won't lose the house. He goes above and beyond like what he had to do. Which is the kind of thing that like a local banker is supposed to do, because he's supposed to know the clients. Because it's not going to cost the bank anything. So he does that for the guy, and like later on, the guy helps him out with some stuff. So a bunch of guys dressed up like Santa Claus show up. By the way, we're going into spoilers here. I know it's a new movie, but here we go. Before I go into spoilers, I guess the action's pretty good. Comedy's pretty good. I got several really good laughs out of it. Decent acting, not an overly complicated plot. There is one twist about halfway through, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It's a whole lot of like, oh, this guy can't feel pain, so like let's do a bunch of like harmful things to him, and he just like, okay, whatever, and keeps coming at him. It's that kind of action and humor throughout. So some of it's a little dark, and some people definitely get killed. Like, I thought it was gonna be kind of light, but nope, it's definitely 4 people, I think, off the top of my head, that get killed. Yeah. So, yeah. So we're going into spoilers now. So, like I said, he's working at the bank, is getting with the girl, and then a bunch of Santa Claus guys come in to rob the bank. They beat up the guards. They're trying to get the manager to open the vault, and he initially won't. And like the guy's like, well, I guess you called my bluff. Like, I'm not going to shoot you, but I can beat the shit out of you. So he starts beating him up, but then like his mask slips and he sees his face. He's like, well, now you see my face, and he shoots him and kills him. And then he gets the assistant manager, which is Nate, over there to open up, and he tries like slapping him around, and Nate just doesn't even react to getting smashed in the face with a gun, punched repeatedly in the kidneys or anything like that. And then he realizes that like Nate's in love with the girl, and he's like, well, here I can hurt you this way, like slaps her around a little bit. And he's like, all right, fine, gives him the code. Then he hits him hard enough that it knocks him out, because that's not caused by pain, that's caused by your brain swelling inside your skull. So he falls unconscious, and then wakes up as they're leaving, realizes they've taken her as a hostage, goes outside, they've shot a couple cops, and like the backup's like 10 minutes away, and he's like, they're never going to make it. So he steals the cop car and takes off, and begins the pursuit for the movie here. So there's a car chase, the 2 cars split up that have, some has the money, one has the girl. He goes after the wrong one, it's one that has the money, and ends up like fighting this guy in a kitchen. And like the guy, the guy's this big tough guy, but like nothing he's doing is slowing Nate down because he doesn't feel any pain. So all the body shots he's taken aren't doing anything. The gun they were fighting over ends up in a deep fryer, and Nate is like, well, I'm going to regret this, and like sticks his hand in the deep fryer, pulls the gun out, the guy grabs him just right, so he fires it, takes him out, and he's like, oh no, are you okay? And finally he's like, he's not okay. So he gets all the information he can off the guy and heads out. Then gets his friend, his video game friend, to help him, and he slowly works his way towards the main guy. So since we're talking about spoilers, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the minor twist that's halfway through. The girl that got kidnapped that he's into, she's in on it. The main guy is her brother. So there was never any real danger of them killing her. And so this guy does most of this kind of for nothing. But she apparently had real feelings for him and is kind of getting tired of the whole robbing the banks thing, and her brother's becoming more and more of a psychopath, killing people. So she's ready to check out. And it comes down to a big car chase and a final fight, and the cops are involved, and one of the cops has figured out that this guy's definitely not involved in the robbery, but is still like involved in this other stuff. Like he's still out committing crimes trying to catch the robbers. So yeah, you've got and there's various hijinks ensue, various fights, and it takes a lot of bodily damage. He has to keep like using an EpiPen because epinephrine is like a form of adrenaline, and it has to keep him going because he knows he's losing blood, but he's not like registering any of the effects of that in terms of pain. It's just that he's starting to kind of pass out, and keeps going, and ultimately takes out the bad guy in a very satisfying yet very gruesome manner. And the girl winds up in jail, but he goes to visit her, and like 1 year later she's got like 8 months left, which a very short sentence for having to do with a armed robbery that involved a fatality and various other things across the city. But she helped the cop lady that got shot get to a hospital, and so I'm sure that helped her out. So yeah, overall entertaining movie. Pretty heavy on the humor, but also it's serious enough because people are getting shot and killed. So it's a good mix. Most of the humor is lighthearted humor, but there's a little bit of dark humor in there. A lot of it's situational, like things hit him and he doesn't even know it. Like at one point they're in a house that's been like trapped, like Wile E. Coyote built it. Like a spiked ball comes and just thuds into his back, and like you don't initially see what it is. And he doesn't know what it is. And finally he realizes there's something in his back, and he sees a giant spiked ball at the end of a chain. And just things like that. So yeah, it's like I said, it's entertaining. This is probably a solid 6.5. Yeah, I mean, I only saw it the one time, so and I got recency bias, I'm sure, but it wasn't bad. So I was entertained. I don't regret going to watch it or anything. I'm not going to rush out to buy the Blu-ray, but yeah, it is. It's worth 1 hour and 50 minutes, so it's not quite 2 hours. But yeah, like I said, overall, I was entertained. The action was decent. Fight choreography, you've got people that have training because they're ex-military versus some guy that can't feel pain. So, interesting look to the fights. But yeah, overall, I was entertained. I think you should probably check it out. I don't know that you necessarily have to see it in a theater. You could probably wait for home video, streaming, etc. on this one. There were no like huge spectacular shots where it's like, oh, you got to see this in a theater, Even though the very beginning of the movie had the three main stars, like, oh, I'm glad you came to watch this in a theater, as it should be seen. Like, well, we'll see. But yeah, that's all I've got on this one, folks. So know down in the comments what you think. Have you even heard of this movie? I'd only heard about it like a week ago. Have you heard of it? Do you have any thoughts about it? Have you seen it? Planning on seeing it? Maybe watch it when it comes to streaming. Any and all of the above. But yeah, other than that, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sharing and commenting, the things that help us grow the channel is appreciated. And obviously, you would definitely appreciate subscribing. But yeah, that's all I've really got on this one. And yeah, I don't have any witty one-liner. I would use the REM song "Everybody Hurts," but I think I'd have to pay some money for that. Plus, if I just said that, I don't think anyone's really going to get the joke. So it's in the movie, by the way. But yeah, so that's all I got. I will see you folks later.